touch of circumstance. I have not winced nor cried aloud under the bludgeonings of chance. My head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade. And yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms what the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul.
Oh, I'm still muted. What's up, Eric? Let me bring you on here in a sec. Oh, what's up, brother? How are you, man?
Man, doing good. Yourself?
Good. I'm glad to see you're at home. You get the day off today?
Yes, sir. I'll be off till next Friday.
Excellent, man. You got like a whole week?
Yeah.
Nice. Well, good.
Well, let's have overtime. But as of right now, I don't have anything coming up. So.
Yeah. Do you have any plans for the week off besides catching up with us here?
Reading Warrior stuff. I want to give it a go and get through it this time, and then at least start off with a strong start. And as you mentioned in your last little, your broadcast, just little by little each day. So I just gotta make sure to each day get towards accomplishing something.
Sorry, I just got distracted. There's a red. I think that's one of those new. What is those that look like a Ferrari, but like right outside my house, which is unusual. But so are you finishing up Be the Man?
Yeah, I'm section 3 right now. So hopefully we'll finish it tonight or tomorrow.
Nice, man.
So
I'm glad to see you're getting back into it. Yeah, we'll be here's Steve. Cool. Yeah, we'll definitely be sharing. Well, I'm going to go back and probably reshare from my Wake Up Warrior Challenge experience, and then I'll also be dropping all the like video debriefs I've been doing as part of the 4 Summits curriculum. So Summit 1 is like really quick and simple. It's audio what do they call it, sprints, on each of the 5 kind of pillars of warrior, which is similar to the content you've seen me putting out recently. I think Summit 2 is a deep dive into like training and living with the warrior operating system. And Summit 3 is soul purpose. I know Steve. Welcome, Steve, my brother.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good to see you, my friend.
See you, gentlemen.
Steve has done a phenomenal job with his soul purpose. I'll have you share in a second, if you don't mind, about kind of your statements and stuff. And then Summit 4, kind of the final stage, is Warrior Wealth, which is what we're all working towards together. So, Steve, how are you, buddy? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you guys. I'm well. I'm a little exhausted, just kind of continuing to straddle this scenario of working a pretty demanding job and then also doing hits on my job. Hits, I mean, from the door, that hit, and then also hits on the future business. So I'm just finding that my weekends are not a time just to kind of like chill out. I'm actually doing a lot of my door work on the weekends for my future business because the job is so consuming with my time during the week. So a little tired, but I'm not giving up, and I'm going on strong.
Yeah. Well, glad to have you here, man. Thank you for making the time to join us. That's what
Yeah.
we call burning the candle at both ends, right?
Yeah.
I've been doing that the last couple of weeks for sure.
Yeah.
Today I was like, I got home from I did a 2-hour walk this morning, and then I got home and I was like, oh,
Nice.
I want a nap. No, not today. I'll sleep early instead. So I was hoping we might have a few more join us. So if any of you guys happen to see the broadcast, but you don't know how to join, if you're a Hero Foundry member, make sure and check your email inbox, and you should have the link sitting in your email inbox. So if anyone else is out there, someone's watching. But Todd Sealau told me he's on a spiritual retreat this weekend, so he may join us a little later. But hopefully we may have Brandon, Ray, or Steven pop in. But I think before I dive into kind of what I have prepared and things I'd love to share with you guys, why don't we go ahead and start with, I think the two of you have been on a few calls before, but if you would, for everyone's sake inside the Foundry workplace, why don't you give us a brief synopsis of who you are and what you're working on, your primary, like Steve, you can share your work and your business concept, but what are you working on professionally? What are you working towards? And what brings you to this group? So do you want to kick us off, Steve?
Yeah. So I have been consuming and doing a lot of the work associated with Wake Up Warrior for, I believe, about 3 years. I actually need to go back and look and see when I started doing this work. But I've been working through the various summits, and I'm currently in the launch program. I'm scheduled to be in California in, I guess, a little over a week here.
Oh, you're going next week?
Yeah. In October last year, Garrett kind of like implored me to like figure out how to get there and get in person and experience that, which up until now I've only met one person from this community in person. So it'll be interesting to do that. So I'm just finishing off the launch curriculum stuff. I've already like done it in some capacity, but now I'm just documenting what I've done. So working on that the next week. And when I started doing the Wake Up Warrior program, I wasn't here for building prosperity or building a business. I was really here for just my mental health, because I realized that through the stacking process, I was able to work through some really difficult family situations and experience some healing from myself, and also just some generational healing through that process. And as I worked on my soul purpose, I came to the realization that what I'm doing in business doesn't really align with what my soul purpose was, which my soul purpose mission statement is, I'm a strategic cultivator equipped with empathy, wisdom, and fortitude, who stands for underdogs envisioning a better life. So I realized, hey, what I'm doing in business. I was working at a corporate job at Microsoft. I mean, great job, great income, but just really kind of limited on what I could do because I had so many just really demanding scenarios placed on me. And so I started going down the search of like, okay, if I'm not supposed to work at a corporation in this capacity, what am I supposed to do? And that's been my quest this entire time is what am I supposed to do in business that aligns with my sole purpose? I still don't have the precise answer to that, but I feel like the majority of the answer. And um, I've since left Microsoft. I'm still in a corporate sales role. I work at another tech company, and this job is more aligned with my sole purpose and my strengths and all that. But it's not a long-term scenario. I'll probably be in this role for about a year to 2 years before they look at all my white hair and they're like, "Hey, get him out of here." Um, but while I'm doing that, like I'm putting in all the foundational things right now to build my business. And what I envision my business being, at least as it's conceptualized right now, is two parts. First, a digital lead agency, so helping service providers, anyone from a tow truck driver to a roofer to any type of service provider, help them get sales leads for the territory that they're in through SEO, organic SEO, keyword searches, helping them build just simple sales lead generation websites, not necessarily a sales funnel, but just a basic website that gets phone calls and leads into them. The second part of it, I really want to leverage my expertise and experience working in large enterprise organizations on sales activities or sales pursuits and help people that are starting up companies, or maybe they've already started a company and they're kind of like just trying to figure out how to like accelerate what they're doing. Like, first of all, just helping them figure out like who they're selling to and how they want to sell, how they want to transact with them. Or the third part of that is organizations that are already well established and they decide to go to market with a new product or a new line of business, and they're not really familiar with the buyer for that scenario. So helping them determine who the buyer is and how they want to sell to that buyer. And then with all of those scenarios, helping the whether it's an entrepreneur, early stage company, or existing company, help them implement the right tools they need. They might need a sales funnel, they might need CRM, they might need other like data gathering tools to help them identify the specific contacts that they're supposed to be working with in large enterprise organizations. So that's the quest I'm on right now. Looking forward to being in California in a little over a week here, just to finally meet Garrett in person and a lot of those other folks, and go through the crucible.
Well, man, I'm proud of you for getting through all that work, and
Thank you.
a little bit jealous of you too, because I wish I had my ducks in a row to be there next week to join you.
Yeah.
I actually was aiming to do next month's, the October Crucible.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm trying so hard, you guys, to not let the fear creep in and make decisions from fear, because I spent 2.5 years doing that during COVID, and I don't want to go back to that phase of my life ever again. I'm done with that.
Yeah.
But funny enough, strangely enough, I don't know if I told you, Steve, but 10 days ago, it's been 10 days now, I put my family on a plane. I had shared with you that my wife was dedicated to going back to the Philippines, I believe. Yeah. So they've gone. And, I'm by and large happy for her, for them. I mean, we got a great situation over there for now. But of course, like 3-4 days after they left, I start seeing and hearing whispers from every direction about apparently whatever powers that be seem to want to have restrictions again. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm feeling the pressure that I may need to get. I was planning to take at least 2 to 3 months here and wrap up a whole bunch of loose ends. I got a whole house to pack and things to get rid of and things to leave behind. And anyhow, so I was hoping to make it out and finish Crucible October. We'll see if I am able to, finalize that or not. But I got to get back out to my family soon.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I had heard recently. I guess it's been about a week ago, I had somebody at work tell me, "Hey, what are my thoughts with all this stuff?" And I hadn't heard anything about this mid-September crap coming up, and I was like, "Well, shoot, our plan was and still is currently to go next year if we can get there." And I'm thinking, well, the last time that we were planning on going, we already had tickets to go, ready to go, and then our flights got canceled. I'm like, man, I hope this doesn't repeat itself the exact same way. And it's just like
Yeah,
anything that's crazy here, it's gonna be 5 times, 10
it'll be
times
worse
crazier
there.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not. I mean, just sorry, brief interlude, little sidetrack, but
Yeah.
I think Eric was talking with me over chat recently, and I wanted to tell you, I said that exact thing to my wife when we first came back out here. I said, like, it's not over just because we're temporarily out of the woods. Like, now that they have established this, that they can rapidly deploy these, whatever you want to call it, but restrictions, systems of control, like, they're not going to never do that again. Like, they're going to use that again. And,
Mhm.
the first rollout was probably just a test.
Mm.
And I said to Jam, like, I mean, I was devoted to moving us back to this country because at least in this country, I have rights. I can defend myself and my family if necessary, and a number of other things. But I don't know. We have business reasons to go back. I mean, I miss our teams. I miss, like, my family-in-law. I miss the tropical beaches, of course. But yeah, I
Sure.
pray that we do not kind of go back into that scenario too soon. But anyways, like you, Steve, I think that's a big element. You said that you started Warrior, with a lot of the whatever the inner turmoil maybe to work through.
Mhm.
And so I think I'm in the same boat. When I first, it wasn't my first encounter with Warrior, but when I joined, Shelter, and when I got serious about it, yeah, it was, I guess it was a year into COVID, but I knew that I needed to double down and have frameworks and a system, rather than just keep drifting and try to figure it out all on my own. So,
Yeah.
but like I said earlier, it's like, yeah, I'm also done with that phase of my life. I'm not going to
Absolutely.
accept. I refuse to accept it anymore with who I have built myself up to be now. Like, I'm not going to allow people to put me in certain situations or treat me in those ways ever again. So it's like, I don't know if that means I end up in jail or something, or weird things may happen, but we'll find out. Anyhow, but before I carry on, how about you, Eric? Why don't you
Yeah.
give us a little
Well,
overview about who you are and your involvement with the Foundry, and but also your career and what you're looking at changing.
okay. Oh, that's gonna be a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say that
Actually, do share. I'd like to hear, with some time, since I think you wrapped it up. I'd also like to hear if you share a little bit about some of the things you've experimented with in business.
okay. All right. So I was gonna say, Steven, you get sounds like you have a lot of things going on, and got pretty good plans coming up, and a lot of excitement, and I guess tiring days coming home and doing more stuff, and
I don't know how he juggles it all. I really don't. But I mean,
that
you're a
that
pro,
was
Steve.
that was one of my struggles previously. So of course my name is Eric, and currently I am in chemical manufacturing. I'm a operator. I started off in the safety profession, and then about 8 months after I came to my current job, my role was cut, so I got rolled into operations. So I'm working rotating shift uh, at Invista. That's where I'm working at currently,
Hmm.
and that's kind of where I've been for the past, I think, 6 years or so. And I first joined the Foundry uh, back in 2019, I believe it was, like October 2019 or somewhere around there.
I think
And
that sounds about right. Yeah.
my whole goal was to get Amazon FBA started. I heard about that, so I
Hmm.
has kind of I have a hard time focusing on one thing, and
Mhm.
so I was like, all right, the whole digital marketing side of things really interested me, and learning about that. And I was like, well, shoot, this Amazon FBA sounds pretty good too. So I put everything going to Amazon FBA, all my money and everything, and launched a product, or created a business, launched a product, and it was right there at COVID, basically, whenever I launched. So all the data was skewed with everybody was staying at home, right? So everything was thrown about for that, and I had a product that really wasn't doing the best, but partially it was my fault as well. Because when I come home from work, back then I was working a lot of overtime. And I'd come home from work, and the last thing I wanted to do is log into Amazon, edit my advertisements and PPC, and I just kind of ignored it for a little while, and that hurt. I spent more money than I should have on advertisements, and slowly my money dwindled down, and it was last year I decided to call it quits, and it was about 2 weeks ago now I officially closed down the business with the Secretary of State here in Texas, and still looking at, still have a lot of things that I'd like to learn, and I guess the digital marketing is kind of at the forefront of everything that I'd like to try to do, because I've got a lot of resources on that as well, but my interest lies, again, in quite a few places, and so right now I'm wanting to get to where eventually I could take over and have the freedom to leave, I guess, the U.S. for a couple of months. But currently, I try taking off a month this year currently, trying to go to the Philippines, and I had to take off an extra 6 days of unpaid leave. It was denied. It's like, well, that's not, 6 days of unpaid leave got denied.
Hmm.
That kind of really, really is frustrating there.
Yeah.
And so I was just I'd like to be able to get to where I can, it didn't have to be solely online or anything like that. I wouldn't mind having something in person. But I think the first online portion would be the way to at least get to where my goals are and everything. With Warrior, I've started several different times for the Wake Up Warrior Challenge. Every single time I've gotten further and further every time. I just never quite finish. And I know I've seen what this has done with Cody, and I feel like I want more clarity, I want more, find my true purpose and everything, and that's what I want to be dedicated to try to get through, and at least find out more about myself, find out, get clear, concrete goals that I can work towards, and a proven path to help me achieve what I want. And I mean, right now, I know where I'm at. I know that I don't want to be in my current position too much longer, but currently where I'm at, the money's too good to where I can't just leave. Because anything else that I can find around here is going to be making less, and we're already at the point we just bought a house, and we got extra taxes and insurances for the house, which is stacking up every month.
You just bought a house there?
Well, it's been about a year, and we did a homeowner finance, and so we're paying, our actual house payment's cheaper than we were renting for last year.
Nice.
We weren't calculating in the insurances and taxes though, so that's like an extra $600 every month we got to put back just for that. It's like, man, every little bit that we could have saved previously is going towards the house. That's another one of those things that I wish I knew beforehand, I guess. But everything's working out okay. I really don't have room to complain too much. I've got employment. I've got a way to bring in money, whereas a lot of people might not have that option currently. But there's something more that I'm looking for, that I want to find out and experience.
So, I think, well, real quick, let me ask you this, and it's okay if you don't have an answer immediately ready, but I'm curious, if you reflect, what was the biggest lesson you think you learned from your experience doing the FBA?
Biggest lessons, you know, you got to have a decent product. But if you, from from everything that I'm learning, if you can advertise properly, if you have a following, if you dedicate time, you can at least you get at least break even from everything that I've learned, and I eventually pretty much broke even at the end of everything. Um, but you can hire copywriters to write your page. It's just you got to focus on your PPC, your campaigns. You got your advertisements, and you got another thing for like social media. I had a page that I'd never really, I had stuff that I hired content creators for, and I had things to put on my social media websites. I just never really focused on, never put anything out there. You can always push things out there. You got certain niches, right? That'll have like certain followings. You could push out your product to them, and they'll, for I don't know what, 5 to 10 days, you pay them a certain amount. They'll advertise your product, and there's lots of different things that I could have done that I never did do. And I guess the whole reason I guess that failed was because of my lack of involvement with it. I guess after I got it launched, I figured everything would just take off evenly, and it didn't work out like that. And it was requiring more time than I wanted to put into it. It just kind of fell apart.
Mm. I think one of the things that I built my life around, frankly, for a period of time that was a big mistake on my part was like the idea came to me from Tim Ferriss, that motherfucker, and the 4-hour work week. But I was always looking for passive income, right, and shortcuts and hacks, and looking for how can I build a business that isn't going to demand a lot of time. And I mean, I did have some success actually built with enough effort up front. I built a few things where it had a very long lifespan, and it did take or it didn't take very much kind of maintenance, active maintenance. So I was pretty happy for a couple of years building small businesses that had recurring revenue and didn't have a lot of upkeep. But I think generally the lesson I've learned at this point is if you get lucky, I know a few people who they've got lucky for several years, and maybe they've got lucky in a really, really big way, but nothing lasts forever like that. I think in the grand scheme, it's like you've really got to find something that you're willing to devote yourself to, just like you do in a job, right? Because you're not going to bring home a paycheck for long, right, if you're not showing up at work, right? If you're missing all the time and you're not doing what's required. And the same is true for a business, only times 10. If you want to own it, and if you want to build something that's going to last, then you've got to be willing to just invest a tremendous amount of yourself. Like, it's not even just the time, but it's your blood, sweat, and tears. So in thinking about some of the questions you'd asked me recently, Eric, the first thing, like before, like you want to make some extra money online. The first thing before you can really make that happen consistently and sustainably is you need to have a strong, clear why. You need to know why you want to move from where you are today to somewhere different, right? So what would you say, Eric, that about maybe the current, I mean, it sounds like things are going generally pretty well. I'm not trying to shit on your situation at all, but if you could pinpoint things with your career or lifestyle, or maybe what you're able to do and provide for your family. I mean, what are the biggest pain points with your situation right now that you want to move away from?
The lack of control that I have working where I'm currently at. I feel like, so I guess my current supervisor, I've never really had a good, we've never seen eye to eye, I guess. And then due to the whole COVID nonsense and the whole mask wearing, that kind of got me in trouble. Back whenever COVID first started, and I got put on a performance plan due to respect and the whole mask wearing and all that crap. And so whenever he came in, we kind of had some issues, and then we're currently where I'm at right now. I worked myself off of this performance plan, and then currently where I'm at, we're training in another area, and because my training isn't where he wants it to be, he's threatening to put me back on this performance plan. It's like, well, no other areas, no other people that I work with are having the same issues as what I'm going through. So that's kind of stressful as well. He's currently, with I guess with our current, I mean, we're not at this moment in time for the rest of the year. They're not making any money. Basically, they're losing money. They're not selling product. You have to keep hiring people. So they're promising no layoffs, which you never can promise something that's not if you're not making any money, you never know what a business might do, right? So there's the lack of control that I have, I guess, in that, the uncertainty. It's just I feel like everything that I would like to do too. I mean, there's the whole thoughts of my family as well, getting them back to visit family back in the Philippines, and everything that I wanted to hear in the U.S. I'd like to be able to homeschool my son too. Well, the only way that's probably going to happen is if I have more time to dedicate for that, right, on a day-to-day basis versus having to work rotating shifts. Just there's a lot of little things that, I mean, for the most part, it's the job's not bad. It's just leadership that really is bringing down the place, and that's kind of situational. Is not too bad, but there could be a lot of improvement.
Well, I definitely would encourage you to through the process of your Wake Up Warrior challenge as well. If you have the opportunity maybe to dig into it in a stack, like think about what is the pain, in your current role in work and in your flexibility or your time freedom, the things that really kind of compel you to create a new circumstance of your own with more control over your time. So I think, that's definitely something you've got to come up with a really strong, compelling why, right? Because it's going to get hard, man. Believe me, you've watched me, right? Like fall face down in the mud and kind of drag my ass for months at a time sometimes and try things and fail. I mean, it never ends. So, so one thing I can certainly, one piece of advice or guidance, I guess, that I have for anyone who is getting into entrepreneurship is like, you better just do everything you can to kind of build up that driving reason, that purpose for what reason you have to create your own path. Makes sense. The second thing for you, buddy, is I would say, and I believe Steve has kind of worked through some of this material, but we were just last week, we did the Alex Hormozi thing. Here's his $100 million offer. It's his first book. So that's part of the Summit 4 stuff. But the first one, after you do the challenge, or maybe side by side, this one is a little tiny. It's pretty quick read. But it's also in the audio, the Warrior Audio Library, whatever it's called. You have the audio app still?
I do, but I don't remember seeing that app or that book on here.
So yeah, you'll have to see if you've got access to all 4 summits. I think you do, but this book is called The Money Tree: The Roots and Fruits of Poverty and Prosperity by Garrett B. Gunderson, who's a friend of Garrett White's. But I've read 2 of his books, and they're phenomenal. It seemed, like a lot of the lessons kind of seem almost obvious, but at the same time, they're great reframes, because we tend to have pretty negative mindsets about money. So if either of you haven't dug into that, that's one thing I would really highly recommend is take a look at that money tree, which is, if you want to listen to the audio, it's in the Basecamp 3 section. I'm pretty sure it's like the preface to Summit for Warrior Wealth. So that's the second piece of advice, particularly for you, Eric, is I think, you need to have a strong why, and only you can figure that out. But secondly, you need to start reprogramming a lot of the like mainstream money conceptions that we get. And honestly, that's, of everything I've ever read and done, I think the money tree is so simple and straightforward. And it has a lot of parallels to biblical wisdom, if you ask me. But, that's a great place to start, to kind of change your attitude and adopt new mindsets. And then really, we all, I'm still in the process of figuring this out myself. But like, if you're in business, what is it really about? It's about finding your profitable skill to focus down on, right? And sell. So, real quick, I think one just kind of simple framework, I guess, I'd love to share with the whole community, but especially for you, Eric. And I hope it'll maybe be helpful for you too, Steve. I think there's a million ways to make money. Obviously, there's a million paths to building your own business or becoming financially independent. So these are not like the only paths, but I think, with the, what has it been, 16 or 17 years, that I've been dabbling in all kinds of different business models and experimenting with things. The 3 different paths in 2023 that I think are the most kind of sought after, the most, they have the highest perceived value to the customer. And I think they are the best options if you want to create something sustainable, something long-term, and especially like a path that will give you more control over your time, right? How you spend your time. Like that's the first thing we get as an entrepreneur. I mean, you still have to pour your time into whatever thing it is that you choose to do, right? It's I don't believe in the 4-hour business for sure anymore. Not if you really want to make an impact. Mm-hmm. But so more beyond just control of your time, though, it's like that financial freedom and location freedom, right?
Those two would be amazing.
I think if you want all 3, like the trifecta package, then the 3 kind of the best paths that I have found and that I've had recommended to me by my mentors. The first is create an agency. I'll just give it that overall kind of label, because that could mean a lot of different types of business, but it's the only real business model where you would have to kind of incorporate, and act as a business owner and build a team. Ideally, I mean, you would usually start out on your own, right? As some kind of freelancer, but then build towards like cultivating a team and staff and building out an agency. The second one, and I'll go in more into these in a few minutes, but the second path would be, I guess, really just overall sales, becoming a salesman. And that's because that's something where you could still technically be an employee or a contractor for a company. You could do some kind of affiliate business where, I mean, your whole, you could build your own business. Like part of what I'm doing right now, in a sense, is almost being an affiliate for Warrior, right? And I mean, that is a component of some of what I've done the last couple of years. But you know, these days, and especially with the whole COVID situation, you know, I think there's a growing opportunity. I mean, I just see it everywhere for remote sales reps, right? So if you can find a company who provides something that you're passionate about, and you could get you know, excited and enthusiastic enough to pour your life into selling what someone else fulfills on, I think that's a phenomenal path. Steve, that's kind of what you are doing, right? Although I think, you know, maybe you could find something that would give you more of the location freedom, the time freedom, you know, where it would be more on your terms. The third path, though, is, I mean, generally I would just call it copywriting. Okay, but like there's many forms of writing that you could get paid for. Excuse me. But you know, like, yeah, writing emails, say like in Warrior. I only learned this fairly recently, although I knew he had to have some help. But you know, Garrett, I think he did start out by writing all his own emails, because I know I've heard him tell stories of how hard it was to. He was trying to adopt what Seth Godin used to do like a decade ago. If you guys know Seth Godin, which was like send a daily email, right? And so I know he did that himself for a time, but now, you know, he employs copywriters, right? So you could go to work for a company like Warrior, you know, and maybe just focus on writing for another company. Or, I mean, you could write emails, you could write, you know, the social media marketing posts, you could write scripts for videos, you could write sales letters. There's no limit to what you can write, you know. But overall, I think like sales, generally speaking, and copywriting, generally speaking, are two really solid paths for you to look at. That, you know, you may end up crafting your own business, but you can start as a freelancer or possibly as some sort of a contractor working for somebody else. But if you find the right you know, opportunity or negotiate the right situation, you know, those are things these days that could definitely put you in a kind of more of a nomadic lifestyle, if that's what you're looking for. But to go back to the agency idea, and real quick, I'll share, you know, I think at the beginning of my career, my you know, independent career, my entrepreneurship journey, it's essentially what I was doing is I was attempting, you know, to build my own small, it was a WordPress web development company. So I had freelancewp.com for quite a long time, way back in the day. And I mean, as essentially a freelancer, I didn't successfully build to a real agency, but I made all the mistakes you could make, right? Trying to go out and create a service business of my own. It got me out of my full-time job. You know, it got me traveling. It's what allowed me to start to build, you know, kind of my location independent life. So not, I don't regret any of that. But knowing what I know now, I would definitely go back and do it very differently, right? So I think what I'd recommend for any of you guys is just like keep those three things in mind. I'd love to hear what you think, Steve. I wonder if, you know, I guess I just wanted to hear what you think of, as far as a template, you know, as a framework of those three. Would you say you're kind of working towards building some type of agency, bringing a small group of people together to provide a service, you know, take your client on a customer journey? By the way, you're muted. There you go. Oh, there you go.
So sorry. I appreciate you articulating that, Cody. I really hadn't thought about it in that realm, as far as like what I'm doing. So I've already like created an LLC, and I've actually recently started to call it an agency, but not intending for it to be an agency. But like, I feel like you just gave me permission to call it an agency.
Well, I mean, it's just a label, right? And yeah, like I know for me too, it's like when people use that word, it depends on what person. But yeah, sometimes like my mind starts to go in a certain way. But yeah, go ahead. You were. Sorry, I think did it hiccup there?
I think I lost connectivity for just a second. Can you hear
Can
me?
you? Yeah. Am I coming
All
through
right.
okay?
Yeah, you're coming through just fine.
Well, anyway, was there more?
Yeah. So
Here?
the copywriting scenario, I think that is like Eric, just thinking about your situation and mine, that's like a really good skill to develop. It first of all, for whatever business we end up creating for ourselves, like we've got to learn that skill. Even though Garrett is like hiring people out, he still has mastered that skill. And I would expect some of that content still actually comes from him. He may have like crafted the initial points and had somebody else refine it, or he may have taken it to AI to get some massaging from Chat GPT or something. But I still think he's like behind it in some capacity.
Yeah.
I've enrolled in a copywriting course. It's a little different than like what a lot of the warrior group focuses in, but it's a community, and all this community does is they're all just freelancers, and they learn to write sales copy, and they get hired out for writing sales copy pages, writing emails, what have you. So I think it is a skill that really provides some liberation.
Mm-hmm.
Since November, since the release of Chat GPT, there's been like a lot of just hype about like, well, what does that do for copywriting? And I don't consider myself a master of this domain, but from what I understand, the need for copywriting is still really strong despite what's happening with Chat GPT, because Chat GPT can help you generate content.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not given the right prompts, it's not going to help you generate content that's searchable and like relevant. It's going to be robotic. And so you still need the skill of a copywriter that can actually understand and modify and edit content and even write content that is relevant to whatever they're trying to sell.
That was the copywriting was one of the few things that I had looked at that I had an interest in as well. And there was the thing's called it was a channel that I was a part of as well for copywriting, kind of like a group on Discord and everything that was allowing you could put out your copy, they can critique it and everything like that. And I thought that was a pretty good place to start for that.
Yeah.
But I've seen the Chat GPT. Like I think Cody was going over that, like typing in like sales letter for this type of business. It populate all these
Yeah, the
things
last
that
time I
really.
think we were all together, and with Ray, yeah, we were just it was spitting out, floods of great content, wasn't it? That's what I'd love to get us into again, and if it serves you guys to kind of play around and experiment and see what we can do with those things. But yeah, I thought today, just to kind of kick us off, I know it may seem a little simplified, but I also think these frameworks are really useful. And I want to simplify it for anyone who's like at the very beginning of their journey and just overwhelmed with all the stuff online. Because like I said, I mean, there are a million paths to producing profits, right, on your own. So I'm not saying that there's no other route to do it, but it was helpful for me, yeah, just to kind of really boil it down to kind of 3 simple paths. And like we were saying, like an agency, that it may not instantly resonate, but I think there's definitely components to each of these 3 pillar areas that you can adapt it to whatever direction you're going. Just to expand on that idea, though, I would say an agency, it could be built around like one direction that I originally thought I was going was to build a web development agency, right? A WordPress specifically. But so this is a service business, one way or the other. An agency it's not, that's the difference, is it's not a product business. You're not doing FBA or anything like that, but you're either yourself or your team, employees or contractors, are providing a service, and so you're in the service business, right? And you can label it an agency or not, but I think the biggest kind of service-based skill sets that are in demand right now, that are things that give the customer. I would also suggest the best thing you could possibly do is, you know, pick one of these things and then go seek businesses that are already, you know, operating successfully, right? They're already generating profits of their own, and they need this kind of help, but they're looking for outsourcers, freelancers, you know, to send, to delegate a lot of these kinds of things too. But what are the things that generate ROI, like return on investment, for any business out there? You know, whether it's a tech business, they definitely need some kind of web development. But I mean, you know, even what I said about copywriting, you know, you could create, say, an email marketing agency, you know, where that's all you focus on. And you go out and you find and train just great writers. So you're not necessarily the one writing, but you're the one kind of managing people.
Mm.
You know, you could create a design. Sorry, this is getting ugly, but design of something like graphic design, right? You could create something around video editing. I'm really listing out things that I need, that I know I'm going to need in the near future.
Yeah.
But I also know that these are services that are in demand, you know, and you, like, if you have a skill with people, I think especially, or leadership, then that's probably the type of model for you to consider. But the key, that, you know,
That's great
an
perspective. Thank you.
agency. You're welcome. Yeah, I think the key difference is that with the agency, you know, what sets that apart from like being a copywriter or a web developer is you may be the one who initially has to do the work, but really you want to try to get through. My recommendation would be, you know, get experience, right? Get in the trenches, learn what it is your company provides, what service you provide, because you don't want to be that guy who doesn't even understand what you do. So you want to get in the trenches and, you know, learn the basics, at least get some experience, make some mistakes. But really, you want to focus more on shifting towards finding contractors who already do this, you know, who you can hire. Oftentimes, you can hire them based on, you know, per job. So you can pay them out after you've secured a client, you know, and you keep the lion's share of your earnings to operate your business.
Mm-hmm.
And then your job gradually becomes to manage a team, you know, to orchestrate the process of taking your customers from where they are to where they want to go with whatever service you're providing. So you need that's, I mean, it's a big task. And so I would say, like, I've dabbled in all of these. I mean, copywriting was I was a writer for years. That's really where I actually started as a blogger, you know, with my whole online experience. And then I kind of started like playing around with web design for myself. And then I utilized that as a service. But like you were saying, Steve, about Garrett, yeah, like I think I've said to you before, I believe he's probably the best salesman alive on the planet today. But in his own way, like when I've thought about this, Warrior kind of is an agency in a sense too. It's a very unorthodox agency, but you know, you could think of it as an agency because he is in charge of a team that has a mission to take their clients from, you know, oftentimes the pit of, you know, just having a horrible, painful existence, you know, and taking people on a journey. And he doesn't do it all by himself. You know, he relies on a team. And really what he is a leader. I think, yeah, he probably started with the copy and then got great at the, I don't know, maybe the other way around. But you know, he's a great speaker and motivator. And then he's kind of developed his way up to a leader. And I mean, that's the other thing is I think it may be easier to start with those two and work your way up. Because if you don't have any skill with writing or speaking or motivating people, you're going to have a hard time running a team, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's a helpful kind of framework, I suppose, just to think about what path you think might be best for you. Because it's like some people don't want to have anything to do with managing people, right? Some people don't want to be in a sales environment, so maybe they would enjoy just writing. I mean, that's where I started, and I loved it. So and just some inside baseball, I think there's definitely elements of the sales and the copywriting that I'm still like trying. I'm a student, in those areas, and I'm trying to develop my chops, my abilities. I actually, not too long ago, I actually did consider there was an opportunity to join a remote sales team for Warrior, and I wouldn't go to work for very many people, but I probably would go to work for Garrett. So I almost applied. I didn't in the end, but
I remember seeing emails about that.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, so I could rant on and on, but what do you guys think? What thoughts does that bring up for you, or questions, looking at those kind of three paths?
Well, man, I really appreciate you sharing this, Cody, because I've been thinking about this. Like, I've got to develop copywriting as a skill. I already have a lot of sales, topics that I can put into the like I've mastered some of those skills, but email marketing, web development, design, like I don't have any of those skills, and I probably never will have those skills. I don't have an interest in developing them, but I've worked around enough people that do have those skills. I've worked at it was actually more of a software development company, but they kind of crossed the lines into being a web development agency. So they had UX designers and developers working together. So I've like had a little taste of what that's like, and I realize I'm never going to have those skills. Like that's just not me. But I can manage those people. Like I know how to treat them respectfully. I know how to lead them. I know how to project manage. So you just kind of opened up my visibility here into the fact that, if I move forward in this scenario, as far as like starting an agency, it's not my skills per se, it's the skills of the people that I hire, the contractors that I hire, or if I get to the point where I have employees that I hire, it's their skills, and I'm managing that resourcefully. I'm not the expert, but I'm managing the experts.
Right. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Well, and
thank you for that.
You're very welcome. Yeah. Thanks for your thankfulness. I'm glad you find it useful. Yeah. I think, I mean, like I said, like if you were to build, say a design agency, I believe you should know a little bit about design yourself, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But like you say, it's like depending what you're talking about. I mean, your job really is it's leadership and team building. If you're creating some type of agency, or some
Right.
type of, I mean, I think I alluded to, that is the path I'm essentially on with the Hero Foundry. I've realized, like, I didn't, same thing as you're saying, Steve. Early on, I didn't ever want to use that terminology, but as time goes, I mean, I started thinking this a year ago, like, no, actually, maybe it is. It's a marketing agency, in a sense, is what I had the vision it was in my head. And even today, it's the idea is getting more and more clear, more developed. But yeah, I think the job that I'm trying to grow into, and that I believe I'm kind of created for, in a sense, is to gather the right team. And as you said, Steve, like it's not about, I mean, I am certainly bringing certain skills to the table of a kind of leadership, giving them guidance, and kind of getting everyone, focused on the same thing to create results. That is a huge skill set, right? But as far as the deliverables and the fulfillment of a service, yeah, it really is my job to like find talent, and seduce the talent first to be a part of something bigger, if that makes sense, right? To be a part of my team and to be a part of like creating the outcomes that I want to generate. Does that make sense? So this is also part of what, like, I've been thinking more and more, since my wife made it clear that she really was devoted to go back to the Philippines. I mean, I have my reservations, but I'm also getting really excited because I've known the last couple of months, like that's going to be a big component of what I'm building is actually like the outsourcing and the, I would call it like contractor arbitrage, right?
Yeah.
Is finding, I mean, there's great people, great talent everywhere, but especially a place like the Philippines, across Asia, Latin America, Eastern Europe, I mean, there's a lot of very talented tech people, developers, writers. I mean, the great thing about the Philippines, especially, is almost everyone speaks English, and there is a pretty well developed kind of professional culture of tech, marketing. I mean, the reason I first went to the Philippines back in 2010, I think it was something like that, was I went to actually help an old friend of mine, Chris Ducker, who is a Englishman who was living out there for I think 15 years, and he'd built a huge outsourcing operation. And I went to work for him in Cebu City. He had I think a 4 or 5 story building. It was like an outbound call center with like 350 seats at the time, 350 employees. And I helped him, kind of create what was it called? It was a virtual staff finder. So he was expanding from really, I guess in a sense, you could say he had an agency whose job was outbound sales and actually I think inbound customer service as well. That was what he had at the beginning with Live to Sell was the name. And then we developed out Virtual Staff Finder Academy was what I created for him. He had this service connecting small entrepreneurs with their own like virtual assistants, VAs. And I came in and helped him kind of solidify a lot of things and create a whole training framework and a sequence of courses that would help train the VAs, right? So I've been involved in a lot of that type of stuff, but I just never had the wherewithal and the balls, I guess, to start putting it together myself until recently. But so again, I'm getting excited to hopefully kind of get back into that environment and start seeking out some talented young folks in the Philippines soon. I think that it's a huge task. If that's the of the 3, if that's the path that you pick, it's a big undertaking.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I had originally thought was, okay, to be able to go into something like this, like something like an agency or something, you're going to go in there, you have to know every little piece of advertisement or how to advertise everything, like SEOs and course copywriting and content creations. And I was like, well, I don't know any of that. What do I need to focus on to even start? But then just a lot of your stuff, a lot of the resources that I have is, well, no, you just have a general overview of the work, then you outsource everything, and whoever does a good job, you can bring them on and use them, for all your future work and everything like that. And well, I mean that, but that's the, like going somewhere, even like the Upwork or whatever it is, to find somebody to help get fulfill your what you need them for and everything. So it's not like you need to know everything, but a general idea of what's going on and how things work would be a big benefit to something like that too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one, it's one thing to have a virtual assistant. And I mean, I've tried a lot of them. I've had maybe 1 or 2 that were pretty good, but nothing beats actually being able to kind of at least get together with people once in a while, right? And get to know them really, really deeply. So that's what I'm excited about. I mean, again, a little behind the scenes, but like what I'm talking about with my wife is actually creating a space. Like she wanted to open a new office so that she can have a nice location for our high-end clients to come meet in person. And so at first when she said that back I think it was last November or something, I was pissed. But more recently, I've come around to the idea, and I've thought, well, okay, I'll take what I'm learning with Warrior and the whole trainer program, and I'm starting to think I may create a studio, a training studio in Cebu that's kind of maybe not as big or grandiose, but very similar to what Garrett has, and use that as it could be a training station for our teams with the visa business and maybe an occasional meeting place for customers, but also just somewhere where I could host occasional, workshops and in-person events with my people. But yeah, I'm really, really psyched to actually be able to go like seek out talent in person, and meet with them and kind of, test their skills and get to know them. And that's, this is a little ways down the road, but it's kind of something I hope to also bring to the table for you guys and everyone in the Foundry. Maybe if it makes sense for some of you guys, I'd be happy to connect you with freelancers, VAs, and outsourcing solutions out there.
Out of curiosity, how did your visa business get started?
Well, how did it get started? We were living in Thailand, actually, and which was fun, but that alone was a lot of work, as it was, because my wife is Filipina, and obviously I'm not Thai either. Okay, Steve. Real quick, actually, Steve, I'd love to. I'll tell you what. I'll put together a couple links, but there's a couple things from the trainer program that I picked up in the last week or two. One, did you ever enroll for the ClickFunnels, like the OFA or the other challenge? Did you ever get your hands on the 30 days book?
I did not.
Virtual version or anything? Okay, it's a big fat Bible again. But if it interests you. Yeah, Garrett actually pointed us back to a great roadmap he put together a couple of years back, but it was part of that series.
Okay.
Part of the things that they produced with Russell and with ClickFunnels. And anyhow, if you've got to run soon, I'll try to package that up and share with you guys in the Foundry real soon. But yeah, thanks for being here today, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, like back in 2015, we went to the U.S. Embassy in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and basically got told, that we were not married at that time. We had Chris together, obviously, and my mom was diagnosed with like 3 different types of cancer, and yeah, so it kind of became urgent. I did not think she was going to survive at that time, and my son was 2.5 years old, and like first grandchild in the family, all of that stuff. So I just felt it was really important to. I wanted to do whatever I could to like help her. To help keep her around, for as long as possible. And so anyways, I just devoted myself to getting Chris back to the U.S. for his first trip here. And so anyway, so yeah, we went and applied for Jam's visa. I think, I'm trying to remember how it all panned out. I think we may have applied for both at the same time, but we were able to get like Chris's U.S. passport and all of that with no problem. I think I did have to do the DNA test, but once that was settled, like, okay, cool. Yeah, he's a U.S. citizen by default, right? But we were denied to even a temporary tourist visa for Jam, I guess predominantly because we weren't married at that time, and because we were both living in Thailand and neither one of us were employed technically, because I was sole earner at the time and I had a business, but I don't, it's just kind of like, well, what's to keep her from staying in the U.S., right, or seeking employment there? But also, I think we applied there twice, and on the second, we came the second time with all this paperwork and like letters from my parents. I think I remember at some point I got a letter from the doctor, my mother's, cancer doctor, whatever you call that. And like my grandma was even trying to get like support from some like state senator, I think, all this stuff, right? But we went a second time with all this documentation. We had a whole photo album full of family photos just to prove that, like, I know we're not married on paper, but like we're together, we're a family, we've been together for a while. And still they denied it. And I was so fucking angry. Like, I tried to keep it together, but I just remember I was really frustrated, and I think I confronted one of the guys at the, because they take you back for an interview behind closed doors in a little room. And I remember like she and I think we did separate interviews, and then they interviewed us together. We'd already done that, and then they denied us. And so I was talking to someone, maybe a different person, if I remember, at the window. So I was trying to be as polite as I could, but like leveling with them, like, dude, like my mom is fucking dying. I haven't seen her. We had a pretty poor relationship for years, sadly. And whatever. So, but I just felt like I wanted her to at least meet her grandson before she left Earth, And so I kind of just leveled with the guy, and one of the men that was working in the embassy, I remember he kind of whispered and leaned in, and he's like, hey, really, you should take her back to the Philippines and try in Manila, because people probably have a better shot at it in your home country, So we picked up everything. We went back to the Philippines for a short time. I remember we, got an Airbnb or something in Manila for a month. And then we went into the embassy there, which is my least favorite place in the world. Have you ever been to the U.S. Embassy in Manila?
Yes.
Oh, God. At least it's like they would keep everyone outside in the sun. Like they didn't let people inside until it was like your appointment time or whatever. And so, there'd be hundreds of people just like cattle waiting outside on the side of the road. Anyway, but
we had to go back there several times.
I just, it was three attempts. We finally got her tourist visa on that third attempt. And it was because we'd gone to all these different places. We'd had to travel. We'd spent all this money. It was just really hard back then. And finally she got it, and it was a 10-year validity. It's like,
oh wow.
Sorry we said no 2 times and nothing changed, but suddenly, sure, you can have a 10-year visa. So, immediately after we went and celebrated, and it was like a joyous occasion. And, took the family back to the U.S. and all that. That's a whole other story about my mom. Thankfully, she did pull through for a time. She was around for a few more years, but I think maybe meeting her grandson had something to do with that, So anyways, after that, I think it was, we spent maybe, I can't remember the first trip. It wasn't that long, maybe 3 or 4 months in California and Arizona, because my mom was in Arizona for surgery and things. And then we went, took them back out to Thailand, kind of got reestablished there. And then there was my trauma experience. Like, I think, you'll remember what I've shared with you about just some of the horrors that I saw. And I just kind of, everything fell apart in my world. I was trying to spin 1,000 plates, and I just couldn't do all. We're talking about agencies here and like all the different things. Like, I was trying to manage it all almost by myself. I was not quite, didn't quite break through to that next phase where I was able to hire. And so, and then I just got hit with this child trafficking trauma, let's just call it what it is, and kind of lost my mind for a while. And I mean, we were doing really poorly financially. And so I think for a time, like, she didn't even tell me. I had no idea for like the first year, but my understanding is that Jam, like, kind of in her spare time, I thought she was just screwing around on Facebook all the time. I don't know why she never told me, but apparently she had just been like kind of turning around and helping, other Filipinas through the visa process with what she learned, just for free. It just she started a little Facebook community, and I guess it blew up. And so then, like, I believe it was probably about a year of that where she was just kind of like, she's always typing and chat, how they do, right? Just always on Messenger, chatting back and forth. I mean, really, that's all it was. It wasn't anything formal, but she just started doing that on her own, just kind of helping consult with other Filipinas. And then finally she told me, and she showed me the group, and I think it was like 4,000 people or something at the time.
Wow.
Well, yeah, it was just like, whoa, holy shit, like, oh, okay, so you're actually doing something productive. And I was like, well, are you getting paid? And she's like, no. And so that I kind of stepped in, and I just encouraged her. Well, I saw her putting so much time in, and I said, I was kind of frustrated. I was really frustrated with her. Let's be real, for a while, because I just thought she had a Facebook addiction. To be honest, that's what I thought.
Well, that's very common over there.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't tell me any different, and I was always giving her a hard time about it. But this is one of the strange things about my wife. I love her, but I've had to learn, like, she's very, I mean, secretive isn't quite the word, but she really keeps things to herself until she knows, that, like, she's serious about it. Looks like we have Brandon coming in at the tail end. We're about to wrap it up, brother. How are you?
And I wasn't sure if I was going to make it or not. I've been over at my buddy's house talking acquisitions and stuff, in on a couple deals. So
nice. Well, good to have you. Good to see you either way, brother. I was just telling the story. Eric asked how our family, our visa business kind of started.
Oh,
but So she started it on her own, unbeknownst to me, and then about a year into it, I finally got her to open up and share, like, what the hell's going on. And she's got a 4,000 person group, and so I was like, oh, okay, so she's actually onto something here. And so I got involved and just kind of coached her through how to set up a freelance business, how to actually frame it so that she could get paid. And for a long time, it was her work, her day-to-day hard work, and she built that thing. But then I don't know how long it was between when I found out that she was kind of doing this little dabbling and started the freelancing. But I guess it was when we went back to the Philippines in late 2019. And got to know the neighbors, and they had this young college-age kid who seemed pretty great. And I said, what if we hired the neighbor kid, because I like I've been telling you guys today, it's like, yeah, you typically do have to start on your own, like, you got to figure out some scrappy little freelance thing or something to experiment with until you find your path. But then it's like, okay, how do we quickly get to pivot to a team, so that you can't be the only person delivering all of the work. That was actually, I think we got Todd here too. What's up, guys? I'm going to mute you though, brother. Hey, Todd, if you can hear me, can you mute yourself, bro?
Just a little.
I don't know why I can't mute him.
I'll be back here shortly. I'll be listening though.
Okay. Well, anyhow, well, welcome, guys. Good to have you. I'm going to roll with this story because it builds on what we were sharing earlier. Yeah, I think if I could go back, I was sharing earlier with Steve and Eric at the beginning, when I got my start online, it was with WordPress development. So I was basically a web developer, and I ran, a small freelance business that way for quite a while. And then, so having learned the lessons from my mistakes, that's what I brought to the table with Jan, with my wife, was like, I then got involved and kind of walked her through the process of how do you avoid, the failure of trying to do everything yourself alone. How do you bring in, a couple contractors at the very least, outsourcers, whatever you need to do to start to build your team. And so, yeah, we hired, it was 2020. We hired one of the neighbors, college age boys, Jim back then. He's not with us now, but he was great. And then one day I found a nice young woman who took me across the island. She was doing like part-time, what do you call it? Uber driving kind of. But she had a background in sales, actually. And so on this like hour-long trip or whatever, I got to in a deep conversation with her about business, and I was just so impressed. I said to her, like, hey, would you come work for us? So I kind of essentially hired the first like 2 or 3 assistants, and then I let her just be off to the races for a while. And then the last, I'd say 18 months, no, now 2 years now, I came and got much more involved again, as basically just training the team and kind of consistently making sure that, we started it in person during COVID. We would go once a week. We'd take them to the beach and, spend half a day together, like working, but also having a little bit of fun time and doing team building and stuff. But also this year, since we've been back in America, it's kind of become more important, but just to do consistent check-ins, and kind of lead the team remotely, make sure we're always touching base with each other and making sure, setting targets, making sure everybody's kind of marching in the same direction. We did have Todd for a second. Brandon, what's up, bro? How are you, man? Do you want to come on and give us a little check-in?
Living the dream, man. Living the dream.
What's new for you? What's the latest developments in what you're working on? And
Well, Q3 had been kind of slow. Had a few things I was putting together in Q2 acquisition-wise, and just got beat to the punch on getting offers in on a couple of 3 companies. But it's the nature of the game. But lo and behold, a couple of weeks ago, all 3 of those fell apart, and all 3 of the owners reached back out to me, and now I scrambled to get everybody, all my partners back together. Hey, are we still interested in these companies, and trying to get something put together. I've had a call with 2 of the owners this week, or no, all 3. Actually, I had a call all 3 of them this week. So trying to figure out what we're going to do. I think one of them for sure will probably be a total acquisition. I think the other 2 will probably be partials. In that we as a group will have the majority stake. However, the owner or one of the owners in both instances is staying on, and will be taking on like an advisory board role. So pretty exciting, because I was kind of frustrated. I wanted to have my first one done before my birthday last month, but that didn't happen. But as long as I get one done before the end of the year, it's a pretty solid year. So it's interesting trying to scramble, because we're working, like I said, working on putting these together. If all 3 of them fall for the end of the year, that would be exciting and super business or busy for me. But that's what happens. So I got a manufacturing company, a home services company, and a logistics company. About between the 3 of them, about 25 or 28 million in sales. Probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 million in combined EBITDA. So it'll be good. Just having them all fall back in my lap makes things a little busy, because then we had our oldest start school. She's a senior this year, so dealing with college visits and taking her 2-3 times a week across the street from the subdivision to the middle school that's over there. We was working on getting her. She's learning to drive, trying to get her driver's license and all that stuff. So Dad's making her learn to drive the big Cummins diesel. So,
Nice.
like if you can
yes.
drive, like if you can,
Is that what
if
you
you can drive this thing,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
I'm
my
in a big,
dream
yeah, I'm in a
car.
25, yeah, I'm in a 2500 Cummins, straight pipe, reprogrammed. It'll smoke
I
the
got.
tires and
I don't know if I've
all fun
ever, if
stuff.
you've seen it anywhere. I don't post it much, but I got a straight pipe, just a 1500. But yeah, I want to get a diesel. That's nice, man.
Yeah, I bought it a couple of years ago, and it's I don't know, it's like a 2016 or 17. I guess I've had it 4 or 5 years now, I
That's the
guess, but
best. That's the best model,
yeah,
in my
well, it had
opinion.
all that emission shit on it, and then then there was an issue with the emission system. I was like, sweet, it's going to cost me 4 or 5 grand to have it fixed back to factory. Now I have justification to take all that shit off, and I'll spend half as much. So I took the
Yeah.
EGR. Took the EGR off, straight piped it.
Oh,
we
oh, it was just getting good. Oh shit. Well, I guess he's out driving, so data probably dropped. There you
I'm
are.
back. Yeah, I just pulled in the driveway. The Wi-Fi is picking up. But no, now I can cruise down the highway at like 85 miles an hour, dude, and get 25 miles of the gallon. It's great.
That's
So-
good. That's
So yeah,
awesome.
busy last several weeks, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sounds exciting, brother. I hope maybe one day in the not too distant future we could have you kind of come in as a guest teacher, because I think we got a lot to learn from you with this direction you're going.
Yeah, happy to share. Well, happy to share what I've learned, been doing. You know me, always happy to help. I mean, the biggest benefit was, I think, because we were all still meeting in the other group. At the end of the year, I dropped 50 grand on that mastermind with Roland, and it's just been absolutely life changing. I mean, go from not having any experience in the acquisition space to now I got a network of people around me. Roland's my business partner on some stuff. Like it's been great. So I just got to continue to do the work though, especially here with the Warrior stuff. Like if I don't stay on top of that, and I've been pretty good about that lately. But I just, we all got digging work to do, and that's what it's going to take to get where I want to go. Because I think I talked to you before about some of the philanthropic things I want to do with building the entrepreneurship center at in school districts and stuff, so high school kids can get the support they need to start businesses. Like that's going to take a lot of money. Like I don't
know if I have heard this, but it sounds exciting. That's right up my alley.
Yeah, that's the whole reason I want to do any of this. Like, I mean, you think about it, we're all relatively the same age. I mean, I just turned 40 last month.
Happy belated.
I mean, we all grew up with like shop class, right? Like you could go take welding, you could take wood shop, like all that shit. Well, fucking imagine if we had that if any of us had that growing up, but it was meant for kids that want to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
and there, I have seen one. There is one in the Williamson County School District in Tennessee, just outside of Nashville. So there's a model that I can follow. When we tried to move down there a couple of years ago, I was like, oh my God, like that is what I need to be doing. So I'm trying to put this portfolio of companies together. I'm thinking, I probably got to have 150 or 200 million under management to have enough free cash flow that I can, personally fund, quite a few of these to have kind of what I would consider a proof of concept, right? To then start going to speaking events and all this other stuff with investors, being like, hey guys, this is what I'm doing. This is the generational, legacy that I'm leaving. Who wants in? You know what I mean? So, because if I'd had that in high school, like I don't even know that I'd be on the call. Like my life would be so different because I've wanted to do that since I was a kid. I just didn't have any support or anything around me. So I think if we really want to, I know you've heard this spiel before, Cody, but if we want to restore America to what it was, we need to start investing in our children that way. That's why China's kicking our ass.
Amen,
we don't think beyond a 2-year election cycle. You got the Chinese, the Asian, the Japanese, the Asian cultures, and even when you look at Russia, a lot of other cultures think 20, 50, 100 years out. Here in the West,
500-year plan here at Hero Foundry.
Yeah, in the West, we don't do that, and much to our detriment. So the only way we can do that is to start as early as can be. So my goal is to put one of those in every single school district across the country. I doubt I doubt I live to see that. Right? It's like my BHAG. Like you know, Musk wants to go to Mars. Wants to die on Mars, not on impact. But
Yeah, no, this is a much better endeavor. What you're talking about, this is way fucking better, Brandon. I love it. I love it.
So I figure I just turned 40. I would like to have 50 by the time I'm 50. So if I could put one, if that's that's the short term kind of big goal. One that I've personally helped support and grow in every state. Fuck, dude. Like I can only imagine what that'll do for us as a country. I'm not going to stop until, like I said, I want every school district to have access to one of these. What they have done down there is phenomenal. I mean, these kids are graduating high school with functioning 6-figure businesses. It is insane.
Dang. That's an awesome plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, that's awesome, brother. I mean, yeah, I don't know that I'm obviously not in your shoes, so I'm honored to have you here among us, brother. But and yeah, very inspired by what you're working on. But it's very in alignment with what I'm about. I think the whole idea for this Hero Foundry thing is probably not the best thing I could do if I just wanted to make money.
Right.
But like you say, I mean, yeah, I studied that, like the Chinese 500-year plan. And I thought, for real, if I could instill something as a seed in my children and in my family and with the people around me, our community, what would it be?
There you go, Cody.
I love
there
it.
There she is.
Yes. I can't pick up the iMac to show you mine right now, but I'll post some pictures later.
That's funny. Yeah, that's the big boy toy. Along with the mess garage is a little messy, but along with that bad boy right over there.
Oh, sick. Nice.
That's the other toy. Well, there's another one over there under a blanket, but that one's the get hurt bike. The other one's the fast one.
But yeah, like my whole this idea of the Foundry, I think it kind of, it builds on what I've been doing a long time. But it was probably 16 when I really said to myself, what I really want to do is get out. It's not about that 4-hour work week. We were saying earlier on the call about, the simple, the Tim Ferriss approach to business, which is finding passive and, the hacks. But instead, I think in 2016, after becoming a father, my whole mentality pivoted to, what can I pour my soul into? That at least will pay the bills and give me a decent lifestyle, but more importantly, it doesn't have to earn me millions, but really what I'm after is starting something that will last for, I hope, a very long time after I'm gone. And yeah, I think the same as what you're talking about, Brandon, is for me, it's implanting just the entrepreneurial education in my kids, so it may sound strange. I don't quite know how to explain it to people yet. I'm getting close, but that's really what the Hero Foundry started as. I was I'm building something to prepare for when my children are about to go into college, because I'm pretty sure in 10 years or so, I'm not going to want them to go there at all. And so yeah, I'm just on a crusade, to kind of create some sort of environment where we can just get an assortment, a diversity, the right kind of diversity of people to bring their wisdom and skills to the table and create a learning environment for everybody. But yeah, especially for the youth to learn entrepreneurship, because I agree with you. I think that's really key, and most standard education are not teaching those principles.
Right. Well, and to steal a little bit from Russell Brunson, he said it best. Entrepreneurs are going to save the world. We're the ones that built it. Builders are what built it. Anything that great that we have created as a species has come from that creative builder doer drive. And if we don't support and nurture that as a society and as a culture, what the fuck are we doing? We're not going to thrive. You know what I mean? If we just all we are is consumers, we're always going to be slaves. I don't want that to be any part of my legacy, let alone what America becomes. You know, like fuck that.
You know, it's really interesting. I don't, you know, I'm finding recently I have a lot of what's the word, collision with my own father over these types of issues. And
Oh yeah.
it's not like I don't want to blame him, you know, because he's not trying to be a jerk or anything. It's not like any outright action from his side, but I've just found recently, like, I just don't have any patience for my dad anymore.
Yeah, same
By and
same
large,
here.
because it's his mindset. And
Yep.
yeah, I want to not blame him because he's a product of his circumstances, but it fucking disgusts me, you guys. Like, how little ownership can a man take of his legacy? You know, how tuned out can you be about the future for your kids, your grandkids, your country? And yeah, it's just this. I think. I mean, it's very widespread, isn't it? But like, so many people have become. I mean, we're all asleep, you know. It really, like, Garrett did kind of get it right with the wake up thing, you know.
Yeah.
Step one, wake the fuck up and realize, like, you're drifting and you're just at the mercy of everything around you. If you don't take any responsibility and you just let everyone else wipe your ass for you, then you got to settle for whatever you're given, right? And that's why we find ourselves where we are today. And it's just, it is disappointing. I don't know. It's like, I don't want to give up on my father, but I'm close to it because seems no matter what topics I bring up, he doesn't give a fuck. I feel like the guy's just tuned out and just wants to be a consumer and not be even very active in his own life, let alone anyone else. Like, he's not being the leader, you know, of the family at all in any way. But that's okay. Whatever. It is what it is. He is who he is, and I am who I am. So it kind of puts a fire under my ass to step up and take more of that responsibility. But yeah, I definitely share your sentiment that, like, I think we should be thinking at least a lifetime into the future, you know, and it's not even about me. It's not about whatever, you know, financial or creature comforts I get, but it's like, no, I just want to make sure that what I'm doing, I don't mind suffering. I'm going to suffer one way or the other, but let my suffering contribute to something that is meaningful and hopefully sustainable, you know, not just all my blood, sweat, equity go down the drain working a job or just being a consumer, you know, or sitting back letting other people run things.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm very, very grateful and honored to have all you guys kind of join me, and just glad to be in proximity with all you guys. And yeah, I think let me just put it out there for everyone, you too, but also everyone who will tune in and see this, you know, I'm just really trying to create a sandbox and invite all my friends to the playground for now. You know, like, it's just like, even with you guys, you know, like, you give me $30 a month or $300 a year, like, that's not going to help me really at all. But I'm just inviting all the good men I know, you know, the men of integrity, the men of action. Like, I want to gather as many of us together. And I think you said something like that, Brandon, like, yeah, we just got to combine forces and support each other and hold each other accountable to take more responsibility in our lives, right?
Yep.
Because what is the alternative is just to let society fall apart, let idiots like Biden run countries, you know, like.
Yeah, ain't no one coming to save us.
Right.
I mean, I mean, say what you want about the utopian ideal of far left socialism and things. I mean, it sounds great. It's a great marketing slogan,
it sounds
right?
beautiful, yeah.
But truly, like,
but I've seen
no one's
skulls.
fucking coming to save you.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, last week, I've been doing the Jordan Peterson Exodus series and sharing that with our study group on Sundays. and I think it was last Sunday, they mentioned, they're talking about the real life case studies. Yeah, because there's the pitch, there's the dream, the fantasy, and then there's the reality, right? The actual results of communism and socialism. And one of the, I forget the name of the guy, but one of the scholars, at the round table brought up Cambodia. A few examples, but specifically Cambodia. And in the chat, I was just sharing because I've been there. I've literally seen, whatever it is. They say it's like 1 million skulls all stacked together. I mean, that's the fucking results. And it blows my mind that people don't know this today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how the fuck we live in a world where people don't. Sorry, let me unleash the rage for a minute here. Because this was an old story now. I can't remember. It was probably 2008 or 9 when I went there. Oh, here, you want to switch over?
Yeah, I'm switching.
But yeah, I went to the killing fields, which was like it's this area where Pol Pot, the what did they call them? Whatever, rebels, anyone he didn't like, he just took them out in the countryside and basically killed them, decapitated a whole lot of people. I mean, the numbers vary, the estimates as far as how many people he killed. But the guy, it's almost inarguable he killed several million of his own people, and that's who these people are. They're like, we're looking down the barrel yet again. Right now in 2023, like they're on TV with shit-eating smiles, telling us that we're gonna own nothing and we're gonna love it, and we're gonna eat the bugs. And we've seen it over and over and over, and it always ends in a fucking mountain of skulls. Like that's the playbook. So,
but it's going to be different this time.
Of course, yeah. This time it's America. That could never happen.
We're smarter than ever. We're smarter than every person that's ever tried anything ever before. We're going to be the ones to figure it out. Yeah. Or maybe we should just accept the fact the idea is fundamentally flawed. But hey, whatever. I'm just no hillbilly. What do I know?
Yeah. Well, I think we've been going about close to 2 hours, so we'll wind up here. But Brandon, next, if you're available next week, is what are you on, Mountain Time?
No, I'm Eastern.
Okay? So it's 4:40 for you there.
Yeah.
It would 3 p.m. work for you next week?
Yeah, generally that would probably work on a Saturday if that's when we're going to do it.
I mean, yeah, at some point in the next couple weeks, I would love to get you on and hear more about what you've been working on. I mean, I've seen a lot of what you're doing with. I mean, what do you call your group where you're kind of focused on
the Patriots with Purpose Facebook group?
Patriots with Purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of a side project. I mean, it's not tied to the acquisition piece, obviously, but I mean, I'm going to start sharing some stuff there just as the group continues to grow, because that's more tied to my volunteer work with convention estates and politics and stuff. But I mean, inevitably, the ideals do merge together. I mean, because my entire investment thesis around focusing on manufacturing, logistics, and home services, like that stuff that we need, like that's inexorably tied to what needs to happen here in the States. I just haven't really merged the two yet because I'm so heavily involved in COS. The group gives me something to do to get the political rage out. And, you've seen my content, like most of it's all around that kind of stuff. I don't, because I'm not trying to source business owners from my content necessarily. Like I've had some people on LinkedIn like approach me from stuff that I put out, as business owners, but that's not what I'm trying. It's just, that's just kind of the brand and who I am. Like I will not turn down a good deal, but I'm focused on building that portfolio out of businesses in America's heartland. Like all of us good old boys, us hillbillies who shake hands and have an agreement and say what we're going to do and do what we say kind of thing. Like that's the businesses that I'm trying to snatch up, because that's the backbone of America. And inevitably that's tied to politics in one fashion or another. So, it may bite me in the ass one of these days, but so what? Like it's biting us all in the ass now. So if your company, if you don't resonate with that kind of thing, well then fine. That tells me that tells me exactly what the culture of your company is. I have no interest in investing in your company. Like that's totally fine. Like if you're all about the DEI and ESG stuff, because the government's handing out free money for you. Okay, that's great. I'm not interested.
Mhm.
Keep your company. So,
Well, yeah, man. Like I say, I'd love to give you, the venue maybe soon to share more about, especially like that convention estates work and everything you're doing. I'm very inspired by it. It's great to see men like yourself, taking the lead, and doing something kind of grassroots at the local level.
yeah, I kind of see it as the last necessary step to or box to check before, at least for me, morally and ethically, can justify the next piece, like where we really do go full 76. Like at the end of the day, like if I'm gonna put my uniform back on and uphold the oath I took as a veteran, I have to know I've done everything that I know is available, and leveraging Article 5 of the Constitution for us as citizens of the United States to say, hey, this is not acceptable anymore. We're going to put these restraints on you guys, whether you like it or not. Like that's it. If this doesn't work, well, then the only avenue we have is a hot war. I mean, because we're in an ideological and a political cold war when it comes to the people versus the ruling class, like we really are. And we've been at the sleep of the wheel of that for quite some time, which is why things are the way they are. Like we've not been involved. How many of the Stoics have said, if you refuse to be involved, something along the lines, if you refuse to be involved in politics, then you're resigning yourself to be ruled by fools. Well, here we are.
Yes, we are. Here we are.
Here we are. So, it's work that's got to be done, and whether it's going to have a positive outcome or not, it's a necessary step before we have to go the Jefferson route of refreshing the tree of liberty the other way.
Yeah, I mean, I do pray it doesn't come to that, but we exhaust all other options first. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, very blessed to have never seen combat. I was put on warning orders. Went down to JRTC down to Fort Polk. And then they picked our unit apart to go fill another unit for deployment during the war. I didn't have to go, but that's not to say I haven't been exposed to that. My brother was over there, just outside of Fallujah. My brother's pretty fucked up in the head and has had some addiction issues, has major health issues now. In other members of my family, uncle, Vietnam vet, my mom's dad, Korean vet, my grandpa who just passed away just last spring, World War II vet. Like it's kind of in the family a little bit, but it's not for those of us that have had a close proximity to that carnage. None of us really want to see that. Those of us that really get it. Like it's one thing to see the movie The Patriot or Braveheart and think, yeah, that's fucking great. Yeah, let's go do it. Well, it's a little bit different when you see a fucking Abrams rolling down your street, or you see a convoy rolling down your street and you hear incoming artillery and shit. Like it's a whole nother matter altogether. Like people don't get it. If you take 10 minutes of a little bit of research and study, realistic images and video footage from World War II, or even the stuff that's available in the Civil War, like y'all have to realize, like, that's what would happen. Like, that's what you're asking for here. Like, we really need to check ourselves. Like, if this is the route we want to go, because it opens up a Pandora's box that you can't undo.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what Ukraine's experiencing right now. I mean, it's just absolute carnage. And that's the reality of a modern war. It wouldn't be any different if we start tearing ourselves apart at the seams. Like, why would it be any different?
Yeah. So. It would be quite ugly. Just thinking on that, like, I think the biggest question I have is I wonder, these people in charge, do they realize, like, it will get that? I mean, do they really want that? Are they going to really keep pushing? Is that what they want?
Sometimes I think they don't care, Cody.
Yeah.
Because they're so far removed.
They think they're invincible, don't they?
Yeah. I don't think I believe they don't even consider that it's a possibility, just because of our current state in the U.S. I feel like they don't think that would happen.
Well, they're in for a rude awakening. Ask Anheuser-Busch.
They're at least gonna run a massive risk, but
Yeah, I mean, look at Anheuser-Busch. They took almost a $40 billion hit. I mean, it's gonna take those of us in the country with our heads on straight to bankrupt a Fortune 500 company before the ruling class start to really get it. And that sucks because that's going to impact a lot of people. I mean, Bud Light's been closing plants and laying like it's impacting a lot of people. But if that's what it takes, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. Unfortunately, there's always innocent casualties. It is what it is. That's why the work we do here at Warrior is so important. Like everybody's got to get their shit together for when that comes, because it's not a matter of if, it's when. And are you prepared? Is your kingdom prepared to weather that storm? And not just weather it and survive it, but be able to thrive in it, because it's going to come. Like history comes in cycles. There's no changing that. Yeah. It's, are you in a position to leverage it to your advantage?
I was saying to Eric at the beginning of our call, you've got to find a strong why. Even today we were talking about. I shared what I think are like the 3 best paths to consider if you're new to business. Because Eric has dabbled in some things, but he's still employed and really looking, I think, to in the next couple of years, find a way to shift into entrepreneurship. So I was sharing, I think, the 3 biggest paths, just kind of as a framework, as a useful mental model for people. It's agency, like building some kind of a service-based business where you've got a team at your disposal and you're leveraging contract or arbitrage. Mm-hmm. Secondly, would be, essentially just sales of some form, like a remote sales rep, or, you become an affiliate for some existing company and you focus all your energy on learning and becoming a badass at sales. And thirdly, is a focus on copywriting. But I said to Eric, like, whatever path you choose, I mean, and there's many, many more, those aren't the only routes to make money, obviously, but whatever path you kind of follow, mm-hmm. you will fail if you don't have a strong why. And as weird or out there as it may seem to some, although I don't think you guys, but for me, I think looking back, I'm actually grateful for like being locked down in the Philippines in particular, and like seeing the tyranny, unmask itself right before our eyes. Being stopped for fucking Nazi checkpoints and asked for papers all the time.
Yeah.
Having a young man threaten me with an automatic weapon when I'm just trying to take my wife to the hospital, my pregnant wife. All this shit. Being threatened because I took my son to the beach and there was not a soul there. It was 6 weeks since my son had even left the house, and I took him to the beach, and this fucking son of a bitch comes and he's like in my face threatening to call the police on me, and my poor son at the time was in tears, all this stuff. Anyhow, I'm looking back, I'm actually grateful, because whether or not it gets that bad again, for me, Eric, like I leverage that. That is my why today. It's just like, I will never fucking go back to that set of circumstances. I was sharing earlier when Steve was on, like, there are things that with who I am today, like after doing the work with Warrior, like who I've become, who I've built myself to be, I'm not going to ever allow people to treat me in certain ways ever again,
Yep.
And if it ends me up in prison or God knows what, well, fucking so be it, I guess. That's the mission I'm on now.
Regardless, it's on at that point though, it's on your terms, Cody. Like what you're saying is more profound than some people realize. I mean, look at the situation with Andrew Tate, right? Like, I mean, the choice is that we were given and are going to be given again. Red pill, blue pill, right? Do you want to die on your feet? Or do you want to live on your knees? Like that's the choice. Yeah. It's like Dr. Peterson said, right? Like you don't get to choose not to suffer. You don't get to choose the only choice you get to make is which poison pill are you going to take? That's the choice. There is no other choice. It's going to suck either way. But if it's going to suck, it needs to be on your terms.
Mm-hmm.
Well, right. I mean, they essentially had me in a jail cell for 2 years anyhow. It was just it was my own fucking property, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, you know, I'm looking at maybe going back into a similar situation because my wife is back in the Philippines now, but I definitely think I will play it differently than I did the first time around. I have, you know, I think I'm a lot more clear on my principles, and I have just developed the confidence and the certainty in myself. Like, well, you know, there are certain hills I will be willing to die on, I guess.
Yep.
Do you think as of right now, anything has changed, at least in the Philippines, as far as people being so compliant and, you know,
I think based largely off what I'm hearing from my wife and our friends, like, I think a little bit, not nearly as much as here. You know, I think here in America, I think, thank God, it did. You know, I think it had more of a positive effect than negative effect, ultimately, in waking up, you know, probably millions of people in America. And I mean, it's why we're all here right now. I don't think, honestly, if COVID hadn't happened, would you have gotten as involved in Warrior as you did, Brandon? I probably wouldn't have.
I don't know that it was tied to COVID. I was already familiar with Garrett before he kind of went dark for a few years. So him coming back out of the woodwork, I was like, oh shit, here's my opportunity. For me personally, it wasn't necessarily tied to COVID, but I think for a lot of people, I know for a lot of people it was.
Well,
for sure.
I think, you know, like the first time I was sharing earlier also, like I think the first time I encountered Warrior was probably 2016. It was definitely by 17, but I certainly wouldn't have doubled down the way I have the last 2 years if I hadn't been through all this shutdown, lockdown, and just tyranny nonsense, you know. Because I mean, yeah, today I probably put 25,000 in with Garrett, you know, but I think I know that it's like, yeah, I'm really, in many ways, I wish I hadn't gone through all that suffering, but at the same time, I am grateful because I know it turned me into who I am now, and it's like, well, I stand for something now. I didn't stand for anything back then, and I know I'm not the only one. I'm one of millions. So I guess it's like that's. They say God works in mysterious ways, you know. I still strive to remain as optimistic as I can, you know, that He will pull us through this somehow. But yeah, I think it's very smart to form alliances with you know, like-minded men like yourselves. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of give you that thought, Eric. It's like, what will compel you to launch yourself to the next stage of the game, if, you know, in life, in business, in your career? I think for me, I probably needed life to get really hard for a little while, to wake me up, you know, to shake me, and to realize, like, I need to get a whole lot more serious and take full fucking responsibility for, I mean, my personal life, my business life, and things like, my kids' education. I don't want to just sit back and let the state indoctrinate them, but I want to be really involved in their education. I want to hopefully craft kind of the path for them as much as I can. So yeah, I mean, you had some good thoughts you shared, you know, earlier on the call, but I just encourage you again, buddy, do think about that and maybe do some stacking on that and revisit it with us next time.
Okay.
Your why, you know, how can we all help light a fire under your ass to make the leap?
Mm-hmm.
Brandon, before we close it up, is there anything else you'd like to share, you know, along the lines of, your business and what I guess what draws you to what I'm doing and being a part of our group? What is it that you ideally really would like to get out of interacting with us and having this space?
Well, I mean, the big thing is, originally when it came into work, I want the move was to get into King's Council to be surrounded by high performing men and have that accountability group, because many of us don't have that, right? Things shifted. Obviously, opportunities came up, and I spent that investment became, the Epic Board Mastermind with Roland. But just because I have access to those people, those individuals, right, that doesn't change the fact that I still need to be surrounded by those individuals. Because like I can get on those calls and we can talk, but it's a different environment, right? Like it's a country club for acquisition investors. Like we talk and it's just a completely different environment. There's not, I guess, for lack of a better analogy, there's not any kicking each other in the dick. Like it's more supporting. Hey, what are you doing with this deal? Let me give you some feedback. Yeah, I would do this. Like it's more developmental on that side of it. It's not warrior, right? Like it's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like there's none of that. It's not what it's not Tony Robbins. It's not the happy clappy bullshit, right? But it's not that environment of what warrior is. And that's what we all need.
Well, yeah, I love what you said earlier too about like wood shop, for example, and I think, in my mind, I've always just wanted to create the Foundry as a lab. I call it like a laboratory, it's not, I mean, I will do my best, to bring everything I can and to share like what I'm learning as I grow, but it's not so much that I'm like here to be the guru, but yeah, I think we're all working on really amazing stuff. And so I want to encourage everybody, just share whatever you're building, share as you're going through the 4 summits, share your challenges, but let's all, commit to holding a space, as frequently as you can be. But like, I'll be here likely every week. And I just want to like have that 90 minutes or 2 hours where we can kind of all bring something to the table and let's work it out together. Let's problem solve. Mm-hmm. If you're hitting some setback, I think it's great to be able to bring it to a small group and like, you'll get different perspectives and someone will always bring a solution to the table. So I hope we can kind of craft like not only a classroom, but like that kind of a lab mentality, like we're building stuff here. It's not a physical, like a maker space, but I'd like to cultivate almost a virtual creator space, like for builders, like you're saying, So yeah, in the coming weeks, just to share with you guys, I will be probably on Wednesdays. I think I would like to, I will come on and probably just do like a stream. You guys can tune in and watch and like type in your questions if you want. And if it makes sense, if it's relevant, I mean, I'm happy to bring you guys on, but I think I'll probably share kind of mostly from my experience on Wednesdays and like show you guys what I'm working on. So if and when you have the time, you can tune in and watch the recordings or whatever. But I'll start sharing like all the stuff I did as I went through the Wake Up Warrior Challenge. And then I'm also going to start dropping a lot of my like debrief videos from all the 4 summits work. And on Saturdays, hopefully if this time slot works for the majority of people, I'd just love to kind of, you guys can come in, and if you have a problem, we could do hot seats, or we can all just kind of chime in, share an update of, what progress did you make this week, what's working, what's not working, and we can try to help each other problem solve, like I say. And one last thing I would like to share with you guys real quick. I'll just give you a peek. So, I'm in this trainer like mentorship program. So I've got my warrior certified trainer, my certification already. Right. And probably this next Wednesday, I'll go into more depth and I'll share kind of my strategy and approach, what I'm working on, what my agenda is business wise with that. But part of this mentorship, I just got off a call, what was it, Wednesday, with, I didn't mention it before, but we were talking about copywriting. Jason Leagard is actually kind of the main copywriter at Warrior. And so like every week we have different calls, but like we get to get on with Jeff McGregor, the CFO. We have a copywriting call once a month. We have marketing, mechanics, where we kind of have access to a board similar to what you're doing, I think, Brandon. And, I also get to spend an hour or two on the phone every month with Garrett and get the whoop ass from the man himself on the leadership call. But, so it's great because they're sharing all kinds of valuable resources with us. And this is something actually that came from I was telling Steve before he jumped off, but the 30 days program that Russell Brunson put together a couple of years back. So this was through ClickFunnels. Do you have this one, Brandon, by chance? Did you ever do like the one funnel away challenge? Or
I don't think I've got the funnel hacker box that I've had forever and day. And then when he released the box set, I've got the big special edition hardback,
Oh, this one, the secrets.
Yeah,
boys.
yeah, I've got those. Yeah, and then I've got the old funnel hat, the black box. I've got the old black box too.
Yeah.
So I can see it. But no, I did never get into do that. I never bought into ClickFunnels. I did when Phil Sane launched Groove. I was working with Joel Bauer. So because he had a relationship with Mike, so those of us with Joel got a pretty sweet deal for platinum membership on GrooveFunnels. So I'm like super platinum GrooveFunnel member that I've never fucking used, but I got it for life for like $1,000. Mm-hmm. So it was hard to turn it down. Same way with my Zoom because Joel knows the people at Zoom. Like I pay for the enterprise Zoom like $10 a month and can host webinars for like 1,000 fucking people. It only cost me $10. So.
Well, nice.
Proximity is power, boys.
Yeah. Well, so a lot of that stuff. I think 2 of Russell Brunson's 3 books, and then there's also Copy Secrets, which is from Jim Edwards.
Yep.
Like a lot of that ClickFunnels stuff is actually a part of Summit 4. So yeah, if you've got cool. Like Eric and both of you guys, any of you guys watching, if you've got access to the 4 summits. If you've got that audio app, I don't know if this will come out, but you can listen to the audiobooks through the Warrior Audio Library, and if you've got it in your online armory, there's also audiobooks in there. But if you guys are interested, I'll share the full book list for Summit 4 Warrior Wealth curriculum. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'll be sharing all my summits debriefs and sharing kind of my biggest takeaways and progress as I kind of follow that roadmap. But today I did want to share this one with you. If you guys don't have it, I'll share the link. And there's a video with this. If you guys are interested in funnel building, let me know. And I'm happy inside our workplace. Show you here. Oh, that's not the one. Well, this is so Garrett has like a 2-part. There's a video training where he shares kind of a simple, straightforward strategy. If it makes sense to seek video applications, if you've got any kind of coaching or consulting involved in your business. But I think there's a lot of value in. He's got this 30-day plan. So if you haven't looked at this, Eric, this is going to be, I think, another really valuable blueprint for you, especially like anyone who's starting out and trying to get clear on an offer.
Okay.
Just spreading the word, maybe finding your first couple clients. Like I'll share this with you guys, but I wanted to show you because inside the Foundry workplace.
Okay.
Where is it? Slow internet. Sorry. Wow, it's really slow. What's going on, Meta? Okay, so I was just gonna say, if you go to the Learning tab inside of the accelerator, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff as always. I've been adding things here for years.
I was looking at this yesterday, and I need to go through all this and
well, especially if you go down to the bottom. If you're interested in that, check out the Wealth Challenge, and I've got some trainings that I did along the lines of this 30 days. Like the whole premise was, if you lost everything, what would you do to rebuild from scratch in 30 days? And so Russell Brunson went to like 30 of his friends, 30 big shots who have all got the 2 Comma Club award. And so Garrett was obviously one of them. I think his is the best blueprint, but there's a bunch. So, you can order the book. I think they'll send this out for like $20 or something. You can get the whole box. But anyways, I'll share. I've got all the interviews and the blueprints in this group, Funnel Mastery, here in the workplace. So if funnel building interests you guys, and only if, tag me, send me a comment or a DM or whatever, anytime. It's not super urgent, but if that stuff interests you, I'm happy to add you into that specific group. Like I think Eric, you're already in there, but all the rest of you who are kind of new, just let me know and I'll give you access to that as well. There's just a whole bunch of gold in there. And I'll be sharing more about Garrett's roadmap, because this is kind of what they're encouraging us to follow as we kind of get our coaching business out there, which is really just kind of an element of what I'm hoping to build with the Foundry. But it's a great blueprint, I think, and you can kind of take bits and pieces and apply to all kinds of things.
All of your broadcasts you're going to be doing, are they going to be through the workplace or Facebook?
Sorry, I want that to go away.
Last time on the broadcast,
I meant to post, and I just saw that it didn't post. For some reason, I think I'm having trouble with the connection to workplace, because I hadn't broadcast into there for like since whatever 2021 or something with you guys. But I will get that ironed out in the next couple of days. But yeah, for now, I think they've only been broadcasting into the Facebook, the Warrior Acceleration Facebook group. I'll import the recording, so it'll all be in there, but it's not live broadcasting at the moment it's like I had it set up to do it, and then again today it told me, what does it say? We're having trouble streaming to your destination. It is possible the stream was ended, or I got to figure out this RTMP server settings and stuff. So anyway, that's one. If Adam sees this, Adam Romer, let me know. I need a CTO. I need some tech help. But anyway, so yeah, if you guys are interested, I'm happy. I'll share the PDF for that, and I'm happy to add you to that Funnel Master group. But yeah, let's wrap it up. Do you guys have any other questions or last thoughts you'd like to contribute?
I would like to see that PDF that you're talking about.
From Garrett? Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So, after this wraps, and I'll put the recording into the Foundry Accelerator in our workplace, and I'll include a few different links and some resources in there. So, check back tomorrow and look for the recording, and I'll share a bunch of links with you guys.
Awesome.
There's also, actually, I'll save it for next time, but I also started playing with an amazing fucking AI tool this week. So I definitely want to share that with you guys, but I'll save it for when we got the group together again in a little more time. So yeah, hopefully, does that work? Hopefully 3 p.m. Eastern next Saturday. And I'll see you guys again.
I should be able to. Well, I'll be working nights coming up Saturdays, but I should be able to be on part of it. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, be here if you can. If not, no worries. But yeah, check in whenever you guys are able to, and just loved having you. So it's great to catch up with you both. Brandon, any last words, brother?
I'm all good, man. I'll see you guys around.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for.
We all got fucking work to do.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you in the group this week. Take care. Have a great weekend. Okay.
Hey guys.
Actually, if you want, maybe we'll see you on the Jordan Peterson Exodus stream tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Just a last reminder. So every Sunday. Okay, guys. Have a good one. Thanks for
Thank you.
being here. Later, guys.
Take care.